Hello. So in this video we are going to continue our discussion of transforms and the analysis based on transforms. In particular, we are going to look at the concept of phase response and the concept of group delay. Okay, these are very important concepts when you discuss LTI systems and filters. So the phase response is quite easy to understand. Whenever we have a DTFT h of e per j omega, we basically refer to the angle of h of e per j omega as the phase response. Now, it is very easy to understand what the phase response means in terms of our favorite ingredient, the complex exponential. Whenever you send a complex exponential through an LTI system whose DTFT, if it exists, is h of e per j omega, then the resulting output is going to be the same e per j omega 0 n plus an angle which is exactly h of e per j omega 0, of course multiplied by the magnitude h of e per j omega 0, that is the scaling. So this gives you an indication of what the phase response does. It shifts the phase of a sinusoid by that precise amount. Let's take some simple examples and see. Let's take the Hn is equal to 1 1. Okay, so if you take Hn to be 1 1, if and assuming this n is equal to 0, that means this is delta n plus delta n minus 1. So that means our h of e power j omega is very simple. It is going to be 1 plus e power minus j omega, which if you recall from the simplification we did in the last few examples, you can write this as e power minus j omega by 2 multiplied by 2 cos omega upon 2. Okay, so e power minus j omega by 2 into 2 cos omega by 2. If you want to visualize this, of course I can sketch it, but I would rather just show you over here using the tool which I mentioned for 1 1. If you look at the phase response and magnitude response, the magnitude response looks like a low pass filter, it has a 0 at pi. The phase response shows this linear kind of shift and keeps going downward. We will actually inspect why that is the case. So over here, let us actually take an example. Let's actually send cos omega naught n. Well, let's choose something particular. Let's choose cos pi by 4n and give it as input to this system. Now we will take multiple approaches. The first approach is we will directly perform the convolution and we will get cos pi upon 4n plus cos pi upon 4 n minus 1. Of course, no problem. This is what we expect when the convolution is performed. We get cos pi by 4n plus cos pi by 4 times n minus 1. If you were to simplify this using the cosine formula, you will get 2 cos pi by 2n minus pi by 4 upon 2 into cos this is what I think you should get. Okay, we can confirm this is going to give me 2 cos pi by 4n minus pi by 8 cos pi by 8. Okay, let us now take the approach of the second approach. I'll maybe use a different color to indicate the second approach. We will split this into complex exponentials Okay, and now if we split this into complex exponentials, we will use the fact that complex exponentials are eigenfunctions of LTI systems, and we will just use this response to get the output. The output is going to be e power minus j. Remember, omega over here is pi by 4, so I am going to get pi by 8. So this is h of e power j omega, I am evaluating it, into 2 cos pi by 8 plus the second one is going to give me e power minus j, sorry, e power plus j pi by 8 into 2 cos minus pi by 8 whole divided by 2, which if you simplify, you can take the 2 cos pi by 8 common, and the remaining part is going to be cos pi by 8. So you're going to get 2 cos multiplied by, I'm sorry, you also have to add the same complex exponential. So you're going to have an e power j pi by 4n sitting here and e power j minus pi by 4n sitting over here. So if you take the 2 cos pi by 8 common, you will find that what remains is actually cos pi by 4n minus pi by 8, which yields the same answer. So what do you see from this? Notice that because of the fact that this is actually a special sequence, this is a real cosine and things like that, and because the DTFT is symmetric around 0, you basically get the cosine shifted by a phase of pi by 8, and the scaling which you encounter is 2 cos pi by 8. So more importantly, the cosine is shifted by pi by 8. This is basically what happens. If you choose a different frequency such as pi by 2, you will get a different scaling and maybe a different shift. Okay, so this is what happens. Now, when does this become interesting? It becomes interesting when you understand what the phase actually does. To understand, here is a pictorial way of representing it. You basically take xn, let me go back to the blue color. You take xn, you pass it through hn or h of e power j omega. I am writing it, this is a system which has a DTFT of h of e power j omega to get yn. What actually happens is that you take this xn and you can actually take its DTFT and write it as x of e power j omega. You can multiply it by h of e power j omega and you get y of e power j omega. Now over here, this x of e power j omega can be imagined to be many e power j omega n's. For example, it's basically one sinusoid, another sinusoid, and another sinusoid, and things like that. So basically this is something like e power j omega 1n into some constant, e power j omega 2n into some constant, and so on. And if you add all these up, you get x of e power j omega, which corresponds to xn. So basically, what I'm trying to say is that the Fourier transform can be used to split xn into several sines and cosines, which add up to give xn. That is the intuition. Now, what does this h of e power j omega do? It scales these by different amounts potentially, and it also shifts these by different amounts. How much does it shift it by? It shifts it exactly by angle of h of e power j omega for that omega. So when you have multiple sinusoids and you shift them, this can change the nature of the waveform. Here is an example. Let us take hn to be equal to delta of n minus 1. This is the delay. If I give any input to the system, the output is going to be exactly the same output shifted by one time instead. Right. However, let us take another case. Let us take h of e power j omega to be a special sequence. Let us take it to be something like this is a special sequence. Okay, I'm going to leave the calculation of the DTFT of this. Of course, I have to specify the ROC. So instead, I'm going to write e power minus j omega. I'm sorry, j omega. I'm going to leave the calculation of the Hn for this as an exercise for you. But if you substitute over here, so this is actually minus 0.8 comma 1 and 1 comma minus 0.8. So minus 0.8 comma 1, 1 comma, I believe it is minus 0.8. This, if you notice, is basically has a magnitude response which is 0 dB and flat. But the phase response has a curved shape which goes from 0 to pi in a very curved manner. So what does this mean? This is going to shift different cosines by different amounts. But then what is the difference between this and our ideal delay which we wrote? The ideal delay, if you notice, has a linear relationship, while this sequence which I wrote, so for example, let me write this as the ideal delay as 0 comma 1 and 1 comma 0, while the sequence I wrote was something of the form of, let's say 0 minus 0.1, 1, 1 comma minus 0.1, let's say, or okay. It has a slightly curved way of going towards. If I make it, let's say minus 0.9, it has a curved way of going towards 0. Notice that all of these have the same magnitude response but different phase responses. So what does this mean? This means that there can be many systems which have same magnitude response but different phase response. Okay, so I am going to leave it as an exercise for you to show that e power minus j omega minus 0.8 upon 1 minus 0.8 e power minus j omega, if you take the modulus, that is mod h of e power j omega, is 1 for all omega belonging to minus pi and pi. This is I am going to leave as an exercise. So it is wrong to assume that just by knowing the magnitude response, you know everything about the system. That is not true. You need to know about the phase response as well, because the phase response significantly affects how a particular system behaves. So let's take an example. If you remember, I took the example of delta of n minus 1. Its magnitude response is 1 and the phase response is e power minus j omega. Notice that it is what is called linear in phase. What does that even mean? That means that the frequency omega naught gets a phase of phi of omega naught. The frequency 2 omega naught gets 2 times the phase. So what? It turns out that, suppose this is a sinusoid. If this gets an extra phase of phi when you shift it, then if you have exactly twice the frequency, then this should get a phase of 2 phi for it to align. That is, whenever you want to shift sinusoids, the frequency, sinusoid of frequency f, if it gets a phase shift of phi, then the sinusoid of frequency 2f should get a phase shift of 2 phi for it to align. Okay, so basically the slow moving sinusoid, if you give it a punch and it moves by phi in angle, the 2f, the twice the frequency, must move by 2 phi, which means that whenever you have linear phase, the component sinusoids tend to align, which also means that there is no chance of the waveform really changing materially. Of course, the magnitude response can change the nature of the waveform, but they all move with the same speed. This is something which you would have seen in terms of wave theory, electromagnetics as well. Okay, but then if you look at something different, like I gave you an example over there of 1, let's take a simpler example. 1 plus half Z inverse, or 1 plus, let me write it as delta n plus half delta n minus 1. This can be written as 1 plus e power minus j omega upon 2. 1 plus e power minus j omega upon 2. Now over here, things become a little tricky. Let us actually take the sequence cos omega naught n plus cos 2 omega naught n, and I'm going to assume that omega naught is less than pi by 2. If I give this to this system, I'm going to get cos omega naught n plus cos 2 omega naught n plus cos omega naught n minus 1 plus cos, okay, half cos n minus 1 plus half cos 2 omega naught n minus 1. Okay, now this has to be simplified rather carefully, and I'm going to basically just do the simplification rather quickly over here and show you. If you basically do this carefully, you will find that the omega naught and 2 omega naught see different phases. How do you know that? What are the components which have omega naught over here? That is very easy. You can see it is cos omega naught n plus half cos omega naught n minus 1. And what about the 2 omega naught? Cos 2 omega naught n plus half cos 2 omega naught n minus 1. Okay. So now to actually find the phase shift of this is something a little tricky. Okay. I'm going to leave this as an exercise, but I'm going to do it numerically just to demonstrate it to you. So let me actually plug in these exact numbers. 1, 0.5, 0. You can see that, let's say we choose omega naught as 0.2 pi. You can see that for 0.2 pi, the amount of phase it accrues is something close to this number, while for 0.4 pi, it's something close to this number. Okay, this number, if you zoom in carefully, is not linear. In fact, let's take two other examples. Let's take 0.4 pi and 0.8 pi. You will find that the phase shifts they undergo is actually not going to be proportional to the frequency. This means that the waveform may get distorted. Okay, if you want to get a more clear example, okay, I will show you that the shifts are actually proportionate. Okay, so import numpy as np, import PyLab, and then from scipy.string import FREQZ. So now let us actually look carefully at the frequency response. So I'm going to look at the magnitude response first. Of course, the magnitude response tends to fall, no problem. Let's look at the phase response. If you see the phase response wants to fall and then rise. So let us actually choose two frequencies. I'll choose something close to, let's say, 0.6. Or let me choose 1 and 2 radians per second. So that's I'll choose pi by 3 and 2 pi by 3. Let's choose that. So I'll choose n to be So I'm going to choose x to be np dot cos pi by 3 plus np dot cos So this is the summation of two frequencies. I am going to pass this through my filter and then analyze the response of the output. So I am going to get my output to be np.convolve x with 1, 0.5. Now let's look at the frequency response of y. Let's first look at the frequency response of x so that I show you what it shows. The magnitude response is clear. You can basically see that is a DC. So if you can np dot cos pi by 3, so there is going to be. Okay, so let me see. So np dot cos pi by 3n, yes, plus np dot cos 2 pi by 3n. I took the DTFT, and you get this kind of response. You get a peak. Oh, I'm sorry, I made a mistake. Yeah, there should be an n here. So yeah, and then I need to find the DTFT again, and you can now see that there's a peak around pi by 3, peak around 2 pi by 3. This is the input. I got the output, and let's now get the frequency response of the output. You will see that the higher frequency is scaled. That is understandable because the gain of the filter, if you remember, fell. But more importantly, let's look at the angle. Okay, if you look at the angle, there are all these weird squiggly lines. There are these weird squiggly lines, and then there are jumps. Okay, but the important thing is that the indication that there's something amiss is that these lines do not follow a singular trend. They actually have some jumps. So we're going to actually use a function called unwrap to view these without having those extra jumps. Yeah. So unwrapping yields the fact that the phases are not actually proportional. There is some bit of strangeness happening. That is, if we said that if you want no distortion, then the omega naught frequency must get a phase and the 2 omega naught frequency must get twice the phase. Here there does not seem to be any such relationship. Okay, so that is indicative that this filter seems to have some distortive impact. So let's go back to our note and then define a particular quantity. So I'm going to define a quantity called the group delay. So roughly speaking, it is the delay a system causes to the envelope of an input. So this basically indicates that if your waveform has multiple parts, let's say the envelope is like the cover of the energy. In some sense, it's basically the hump or where the maximum energy is. How much does that get delayed? Now, this is a function of frequency. In fact, the definition is alternately so you basically find the derivative of the angle of h of v per j omega. Okay, so let's actually let's actually take some examples. So if you take delta of n minus 1, that corresponds to e power minus j omega. Okay, let's not take this. Let's take e power delta of n minus 2. Sorry, delta of n minus 2 e power minus j 2 omega. Actually, sorry. This is the group velocity. I'm sorry. I'll change this. It's dou by dou omega of angle of h of e per j omega. Yeah. So now what is the angle of h of e per j omega here? Alright, group delay is equal to, the angle is 2 omega, so it's minus d by d omega of 2 omega, which is of minus 2 omega, in fact, which is plus 2. Let's take another example. Let's take one plus half delta n minus 1, which is this. Now over here things are a bit tricky. So here we need to write this as 1 plus half cos omega minus half j sin omega. And now you have to write angle of h of e per j omega as tan inverse of sin omega by 2 plus cos omega. And now you have to differentiate this. Now notice that this, if you differentiate, this will be a function of omega. This means that the group delay will be different for different frequency ranges. What does that mean? If you notice, let's go back to our program. In our program, let's look at the filter, let's look at the sequence 0, 1. So if you notice this, it has a linear group delay structure. The fact that the group delay is linear means that the phase response rather is linear, means the group delay is constant. All frequencies are going to get delayed by the same amount. But if you do something like this, let's say minus 0.8, 1, minus 0.8. Over here, this is going to cause different delay. Here, the group delay, which is the negative of the slope over here, is much higher for smaller frequencies than for larger frequencies. Let's take our 1 plus half z inverse also. Again, the group delay is actually really tiny. And the group delay starts to, the group delay is actually very tiny, goes to 0 and then changes sign also. In fact, there is one point over here where the group delay is indeed 0. That is the point where the derivative in fact goes to 0. You can actually check what that is. That particular frequency sees no group delay when it travels to this. Okay, which is surprising. And you can actually check that it will be close to 0.65. So what does all this mean? What all this means is that there are certain frequencies which, when passed through a filter, get delayed by some amount, certain frequencies which get delayed by other amounts. The measure to which a waveform which falls in a particular frequency range is delayed is called group delay. A particular system whose group delay does not depend on frequency and is the same for all frequencies is called a linear phase filter. It has the speciality that it delays all frequencies by the same amount. Of course, the magnitude response can have different impacts. Let's take some examples. Now the most common example which many of you have been seeing, if you take sin omega cn upon pi n and let's multiply it by wn, where wn is un minus un minus m minus 1. Okay, so this is in fact n, m length windowed version, and it's a causal. Okay, so sorry, let me change this. I'm so sorry. U of n plus m minus u of n minus m minus 1. I'm sorry. So this is value between minus m and m, and it's a symmetric window. Now if I shift this by m exactly, so then I'm going to get sin omega c n minus m by pi n minus m un minus u. So this is basically symmetric about m and defined between 0 and 2m. This is a causal shift. Now what does the phase response of this look like? This is something we can try easily numerically. Okay, so I am going to just say my n is between minus 100 and 100. So I am just going to do let's choose omega c to be pi by 2. And we'll handle, I'm sorry, it should be np dot sine, and we'll handle the division by 0. If you look exactly at 100, it's going to have not a number. Remember, it should be omega c by pi. So I'm going to make it 0.5. Okay, so now if I just do a sanity check and plot the absolute value, okay, this looks like a truncated version of our low pass filter. Let's look at the phase. We get lots of lines and lots of squiggly lines. Let's actually use the unwrap trick. If you unwrap, something interesting happens. If you ignore this part, which is actually beyond pi by 2, which is the stop band of the filter, notice a beautiful straight line. Why do we get a beautiful straight line? The reason is because the original sine low pass filter, which was the sink, was symmetric about minus m and m, which means that symmetric about 0 rather, which means that it was a real and even filter, which means it has a real and even DTFT, which means the DTFT doesn't have phase. The phases are only 0 or pi. By shifting it to the right, we convolved with delta of n minus m, and by convolving it delta of n minus m, we got the phase of e power minus j omega m. This e power j minus omega m appears over here. In fact, the slope of this line is going to be exactly 100. If you don't believe me, check. This is 0, this is pi by 2. This number is about 157. 157 by pi by 2, which is 1.57, is exactly 100 because we have shifted this to the right by 100. After this, there's this squiggly lines where it changes sign. You can think about why that happens, but before that we will that we'll remark that is the stop band, so we don't care too much about it at the moment. Let's take some other examples. Let's take some simpler examples. Okay, let us actually take something over here. Let's say we will take Hn to be, we will take it to be delta n plus delta n minus 1 plus delta n minus 2. Okay, this is another interesting sequence. This is actually, if you notice again, this is actually 1 1 1 for 0 1 2. If you shift it to the left by 1, then you get delta n plus 1 plus delta n plus delta n minus 1, and you convolve it with delta n minus 1. Now this is symmetric, and my guess is that it should have it's a real and even sequence, it should have a real and even DTFT. Why? Because it's the same on both sides of 0. So what is the DTFT of this? It's not difficult to see that it is going to be 1 plus 2 cos omega. Okay, and the DTFT of this, which will multiply, is e power minus j omega. Okay, so what? This, if you plot, is going to have a linear phase response. Really? So let's look at 1, 1. Okay. So this has a linear phase response, but there is something interesting happening here. There is a jump, and the jump is precisely a jump of pi. Why does this pi jump come into the picture, and where does it happen? If you notice, it happens exactly at the point where the filter response goes to 0. Okay. Now where does the filter response go to 0? In fact, you can find that out easily. It goes to 0 at these points, okay, which is actually 2 pi by 3 and 4 pi by 3, but I will prove that to you. Okay, so where does 1 plus 2 cos omega go to 0? Cos inverse of negative half. Okay, now cos inverse of negative half, so when does cos go to minus half? That is very easy. Cos go to minus half at 2 pi by 3, 4 pi by 3. Okay, we will just to convince you. Okay, so at these 2 points, what happens is that this particular thing from 0 to 2 pi by 3 is positive, at 2 pi by 3 becomes 0 and becomes negative, which means that there is a jump of pi. Similarly, 4 pi by 3, this particular thing from negative becomes positive, and again there is a jump of pi. So that is the reason why you have that abrupt jump, and this abrupt jump is something that you have to handle carefully, which is why when you look at the sequence over here, you get a jump of pi. Now, then the question has to be asked, is this a linear phase filter? Now the answer is tricky, not excuse me. The answer is actually, there is a tricky bit of nomenclature. Even if you unwrap, remember when you want to unwrap and unroll, what is an equivalent phase? A phase excuse me, a phase of phi and a phase of 2 phi are this, phi plus 2 pi are the same. So if you have a phase of excuse me, a phase of pi and a phase of phi and a phase of phi plus 2 pi or phi minus 2 pi are the same. Any other phases are not the same. Now given that that is the case, what do you do over here? A pi jump indicates a sign change. So if you want to define the group delay is defined as the derivative. If you find the derivative over here, you will find that the derivative is exactly 1 for this filter. Group delay is exactly 1 because you shift, it's basically 1 symmetric convolved with e power minus j omega, you get a group delay of 1. If you perform a derivative to the right, you get a group delay of 1. But if you recall your differentiation theory, differentiating at 2 pi by 3 and 4 pi by 3 for that matter, which is not shown here, is tricky. You cannot differentiate this sequence at 2 pi by 3 or 4 pi by 3. So what is the group delay? At 2 pi by 3 and at 4 pi by 3, it is not defined. However, we don't care because at 2 pi by 3 and 4 pi by 3, anyway the filter response is 0, which means the filter blocks that frequency. So who cares what the response is? So both to the left of 2 pi by 3 and to the right of 2 pi by 3 as well as 4 pi by 3, the same thing. The response, the phase response is actually linear and the phase response has the same slope. Such filters or systems are called generalized linear phase. meaning their group delay is not defined at certain points, but those certain points are actually, you don't need to worry about them because those points are exactly where the gain is 0. So those frequencies will not appear in the output at all. So just to summarize and emphasize the concept to you, group delay tells you by how much the envelope of the signal is shifted. Group delay generally depends on omega. If the system is linear phase or generalized linear phase, then it doesn't depend on omega. For certain DTFTs, the group delay cannot be defined for certain values of omega, but many a time those points are where the DTFT changes sign, and when it changes sign it crosses 0, and when it crosses 0, at the point where it crosses 0, the frequency is actually not passed through, it is actually blocked, and at that point you don't need to define the group delay. To the left and right, the slopes will be the same in general. There are exceptions of course, but for all the considerations which we have in this course, this is sufficient for you to know. The next lecture we are going to look at certain special types of filters. Thank you.